What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today is my preview show. I preview the upcoming Washington Commanders versus the Denver Broncos, a primetime Sunday night game where the lessons of curse and things like that, for some reason, people don't want to apply it. And with that being said, Washington will be wearing what they consider the Super Bowl uniforms or whatever, which weren't the right uniforms. And again, like I said, it's almost like people don't get it. It's time to move on. It's time to get away from it. Here we are again. Remember the last time we wore those uniforms? What happened? Thank God Jaden won't be playing in this game. But I really do feel that, they're wearing these uniforms because there were so many fans who proclaimed that they weren't going to come back until the name went back. The crazy aspect of all that is that the people that are saying that were people who were never going to the games in the first place. That stadium over there in Landover, the stadium held almost 90,000 people at one point, before Dan had to take seats out because people wasn't going to the game. The team was named Redskins back then, and y'all still weren't going to the game. And y'all reasoning is because Dan Snyder owned the team. Come on, y'all. That wasn't the only reason why y'all weren't going. The tickets were too high, the food wasn't good, and the product wasn't enjoyable. That's why you wasn't going to the games. It had nothing to do with the name. And so many of y'all tie your family memories to being at Redskins games, when in fact it wouldn't matter what games you were at. You would have still had that family enjoyment, that family interaction. The name has nothing to do with it. And it's time to get over it. See, and I said it from the onset. This team, we're having a typical Redskin season because so many people was desperate to associate us again with the Redskins. Even after last year, I said we're no longer the Redskins, we're now the Commanders. Let's focus on the Commanders. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like the name either. I wouldn't mind a name change, but not back to Redskins. We're over that. We're on to something new. It's time to get guys who are the new breed into the Hall of Fame, because guess what? None of our old guys are getting in. There's been fights for Joe Jacoby for years, still not in. Brian Mitchell is number 2 all-time in all-purpose yardage, still not in. And understand, he wasn't even the first special teamers. This guy, understand, all the special teamers that are getting in that aren't kickers, all are still behind Brian Mitchell when you talk about all-purpose yardage. Brian Mitchell is number 2 behind Jerry Rice, who is in the Hall of Fame. So again, like I said, to hell with the past. To hell with it. We're not the Redskins anymore. We got to focus on what the new wave of this team is going to be. And champion that from now on. Hopefully, this will be the season where Josh Harris and all the ownership is like, this is the last ride for the Redskins thing. Here y'all go. This is the last ride. After this, we ain't doing this no more. And in typical manner, we're having a true Redskins season. Not making the playoffs. Going to probably draft high. Hopefully, by the time the draft come around, we don't do something that ends up being a Redskin type of thing. But we'll be done with it. And that's it. Now, let me get to the game. This Denver Broncos team is not a team to be played around with. They have a young quarterback who has been fairly good this season. Well, he's been okay this season. He hasn't been great, but he was pretty great last season. This team has a phenomenal defense. Absolutely phenomenal. They got two very solid cornerbacks, an incredible safety who, by the way, I talked about him and I said that I hope Washington would take him in Hufanga. Again, that's another piece missed out on. Dre Greenlaw, I heard people who wanted him. He's another piece that was missed out on. So, currently right now, and they have two incredible edges. How many of y'all remember me talking about Jonathan Cooper the following year after we drafted Chase Young? I talked about Jonathan Cooper, who also came out of Ohio State. But again, they have a very strong team defensively. And what's happening is that this may be the week that we may see some changes. Noah Brown practice. Terry McLaurin practice. Now, again, we don't have Jaden Daniels, but that should be okay. Because now we'll have weaponry that we need to probably try our best to finish out the season. I personally don't want Jaden to finish out the season. But I understand if people want him to because they think he needs reps. No, he doesn't. If he was out the whole season, I mean, for guys who get injured and they're out for the whole season, do you think that you know what, come next year, they're going to be awful because they missed all these reps? No. It never happens that way. Okay? He doesn't need reps because he can get all the reps in the off season. And then when training camp and all that happens, that's when he'll get more reps. Most times, I'm going to give y'all a little secret. Most guys, when the football season is over, don't do football stuff. 9 times out of 10, and this is for y'all who don't know this, and former NFL players will tell you, I can tell you too, when it comes to the after the football NFL season is over, most times you don't do no NFL stuff. You do zero NFL stuff. 9 times out of 10, you start ramping up right about maybe a month or two before training camp starts, which is why they need training camp or organized OTAs. The reason why they need OTAs is because that's to get everybody back in shape. Because most of the guys aren't even working out. Most of the times they're sitting up there and they're just gaining regular walking around weight. So that's what the OTAs are for. The OTAs is basically exactly what it is. Workout program. That's what it is. But with that, you have to understand that this game coming up is a very tough game. It's not a game that we can just sit up there and think that we're going to walk over them or possibly beat them. They've been playing very well. And being down your 2 starting corners, being down, you might have Will Harris coming back. But again, we really don't know what the dynamic with Will Harris and Quan Martin is going to really be in comparison to when Quan was beside Jeremy Chin, who was a more vocal guy. We still got to understand, is this going to be the moment where Bobby Wagner's time on the field shrinks? Well, how can you do that when this guy is still basically your best middle linebacker? You know, you can't just throw anybody in there and expect for them to do well. Let's talk about, and then there's things that we got to talk about down the line. I'm already hearing people talking about the off season. That's how bad this has got. That's how identical to a Redskins season this has gotten, where people are now already talking about the off season. But we do have to talk about guys like Deebo Samuel. You know, understand Deebo Samuel, unlike other wide receivers, especially the guys that we've had on our team for years, Deebo Samuel is a guy who's very good, but he's very good behind the line of scrimmage. He's not good beyond the line of scrimmage. Unlike when you get guys like Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown and even Luke McCaffrey to some extent. These guys are good beyond the line of scrimmage. Deebo isn't great unless you get him activated behind the line of scrimmage. We can't deal with stuff like that. We need Deebo to be utilized in a manner that doesn't always put him behind the line of scrimmage, and also see what he can do beyond the line of scrimmage. You know, it doesn't always work well that way. So with that being said, it's hard for me to think that the Denver Broncos has a lot that they're doing well. I mean, offensively, there's a lot of stuff they're doing very well. You know, I mean, they can throw the deep ball with ease. Cortland Sutton seems like he basically negotiated himself out of a better contract. Because, I mean, he's already outplaying the one that he's on, which is crazy. And we're all sitting here watching as Bo Nix is not doing super great, but he's doing well. He's serviceable enough. Now, the Broncos don't have the best running game because J.K. Dobbins just went down. So now they have to kind of rely on R.J. Harvey to do a lot of that stuff. Or, you know, in fact, I think that, I can't remember if they got Damian Harris or if they looked at Damian Harris. I don't know what's going on, but still, they're in a situation where their running game probably shouldn't be a big factor for us, but their passing game is going to be a problem, and their defense is going to be a problem for us. So, with that being said, I think this might be a close game. We've seen the Broncos sit up there and basically be not great in the first half of games. Your team will seem to be winning at the beginning of a game, and then all of a sudden the Broncos turn it up in the fourth quarter, and next thing you know, you're losing. Your team is losing the game by 6 or 3. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go to Denver Broncos. It's hard for me to believe that Washington's going to beat the Denver Broncos, and of course, it's not a game. This game has bad luck attached to it because they're wearing the old uniforms, the championship uniforms. And like I said, we saw what happened the last time they wore these championship uniforms in a game. So with that being said, I got the Denver Broncos beating the Washington Commanders 28-14. And 14 is me stretching it. I don't think that they'll score that much points, to be honest. I mean, I'm saying 14, but I don't even think it's going to be 14. With that being said, y'all tell me what y'all think. How do y'all feel about this upcoming game? How do y'all feel about me talking about the curse of the Redskins? You know, like, how many of y'all feel that same way? Or is it something that y'all just don't want to talk about because y'all don't want to agree with it? But y'all let me know down in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also, put on that notification bell so you know when I'm coming to you each and every time at this point at this channel. Oh, also, Hard Knocks will be starting up. So get ready to relive a lot of this stuff that you wasn't expecting to relive. And for those who want to always talk about the Redskins, let that Hard Knock season be what y'all pay attention to each time y'all bring it up. Y'all tell me down in the comments below. Other than that, this has been your man John Fortune, and it's been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.